know about the Islamic State, what a brutal, sadistic, murderous gang of people these are, in April of this year, you're still getting two bright young people going out. And yes, you could stop them, you could take away their passports, but these are only very temporary measures. What we have got to do now is get to the root of the problem, and we've got to have a better conception of how to stop people thinking this might be a good idea. And what's significant, of course, is that this person comes from Dewsbury, the home of Mohammed Siddiqui Khan, the ringleader of the 7/7 bombers. And it illustrates, if I may say so, yet another point that we have come to appreciate in the past 10 years that we've been looking at this, that there are specific locations, specific sites where young British Muslims go out to fight. And it shows that this isn't just about the social media, because you get the social media spread the length and the breadth of this fair island. If you're having particular hotspots where people are going out, then yes, social media is undoubtedly important, but there is another X factor, and we've got to get to that X factor. And once we deal with whoever it is that is radicalizing them in these hotspots, we stand a chance of overcoming this problem.
Professor, stay on the line if you would. I want to bring in Asghar Bukhari, who's the founding member of the Muslim Public Affairs Committee. Good afternoon. Your reaction to what we're hearing breaking this afternoon.
Obviously, it's upsetting, but to me, the root causes have not changed. The conditions in the world have not changed, and the reasons why Muslims become radicalized have not changed. And nothing's changed, that, in my mind, that can really stop groups like this from recruiting, not just in Britain, but right around the world. You can see Al-Qaeda used to be a tiny force in Afghanistan, and now it's a global force around the world.
Do you know what's changed for me, Mr. Bukhari, in this? And is that this is a child who's gone across to Iraq to do this. This isn't a 23-year-old who has had thoughts about the ideological capacity of Islam or whatever it might be. This is a 17-year-old kid who hasn't had that opportunity, and yet he's still going out there to blow himself up.
But forgive me, but I disagree. I think when you're 17 years old and you can still work out if you see something wrong in the world, and you say, well, in fact, you're more passionate then than you ever are in your life. When you say, if you see something wrong in the world, you say, I want to stop it. And I think this is where me and Glees are going to disagree. The reason why Muslims, at least, believe that Muslims are being radicalized is they see right around the world injustice, things that they see as oppressive and oppression against them. And so young Muslims, due to social media, due to spread of information, are now more politically aware, more politically conscious, and some of those are saying, well, what can I do about it? And they're taking this violent course of action, although, as you can see, a limited number. But I feel that's more to do with ISIS's image problem than anything that we ourselves are doing.
Professor?
Well, for one thing, I would say it isn't Muslims. The vast majority of Muslims, not just in the United Kingdom, but throughout the world, want to have absolutely nothing to do with this sort of violence. And the family of Tata Aswal there from England, from Dewsbury, have made it very clear that they utterly abhor the activities of the Islamic State. And not for the first time I find myself in disagreement with Mr. Bukhari over what he says. I mean, leave to one side that he says it's upsetting, which is a very crass understatement, really. Upsetting, it's far more than that. He says the conditions why Muslims are becoming radicalized haven't changed, and it has to do with Western oppression and intervention. The truth is the other way round. There is a problem in Iraq and Syria, not because the West has intervened, but because the West has not intervened. We have not intervened to dismantle the Islamic State, so much so that some British people are actually going out to fight with the Kurds against the Islamic State. Both groups of people are wrong. This is not something that individuals should do, and young people deserve to have the life that God gives them lie ahead before them, not to be used as human weapons by this sadistic regime. And that's what I would expect Mr. Bukhari.
Can I just say, Mr. Gleeson, the nice platitudes and grand speeches aren't going to change anything on the ground, and they haven't. The problem with people like you, who kind of push for war around the world and saying we need more war, is that there was no suicide bombers going from here to Iraq before the war. The problem for you is that all the people who have been caught attempting a terrorist attack have all been interviewed and all have said that the reason why they were doing it was due to foreign policy. I was at the Adebayo trial. Even Adebayo said the reason why he did it was foreign policy. Your problem
he said,
is...
Actually, Mr. Bukhari, I have to say, I was there too, and as though he gave that as... Mr. Bukhari, one moment. I know he gave that as one of the reasons why he did it, but another reason was that he was compelled to do so by his religion that he followed.
On for about 5 minutes about why we need to go to war. I'm just trying to say that there's another view, my view, and the listeners can make their own decision, right? The fact of the matter is, Muslims, and do a poll, not you by yourself, but the OBC can do a poll around it. Do Muslims feel that the reason why Muslims are going abroad and fighting, whether it's for ISIS, whether it's for Al-Qaeda, for whatever, is because of our foreign policy? And the answer, with all the facts behind it, is constantly yes. Now, how can we stop that? That's the question, not what the route is. We know what the route is. You can claim it's some weird version of Islam. I'm telling you, it's foreign policy. And the history of this world proves that when you have an oppression around the world, people take to violence. You can hide from it, you can duck on it, you can blame the Muslims, but that's the fact.
Mr. Bukhari, briefly, because we are running out of time, what do you do to stop that? Because that isn't going anywhere.
That's so simple. And once you know that it's foreign policy, it's a simple route. A young Muslim, that 16-year-old kid, if I was to speak to him, I'd say, listen, son, you don't have to go and fight to change foreign policy. You're in a democracy. Teach them how they can actually affect change. Our problem is, because of the way the prevent strategy alienates young Muslims, the way the government is kind of bruising on Muslims, what they do is they say, well, I don't believe I can make a change in this UK, and we have to convince them otherwise. But you can't even go down that road if you say it's nothing to do with foreign policy. It's something to do with your religion. No Muslim is going to buy that.
Mr. Bukhari, many thanks for your comments, and Professor Anthony Glees, thank you.